Illinois homeschoolers, this is a legislative update and a warning as the legislative session gets underway in Springfield. I'm Emily Fort with the Homeschool Freedom Coalition. I was homeschooled my whole life. I'm one of 11 kids. All 11 of us were homeschooled and are homeschooling, which I think that's almost more to brag about than the 11 of us being homeschooled. But that said, keeping an eye on bad legislation is an absolutely critical part of what we do at the Homeschool Freedom Coalition. And we've been getting messages from homeschoolers in Illinois asking us what's happening in Springfield, what should we be preparing for, what should we be ready for. Of course, every homeschooler in Illinois probably remembers that last year we saw a pretty serious anti-homeschooling bill, HB 2827. It would have opened the door to a lot of new state oversight and reporting requirements and long-term regulation of homeschool families, things that we hadn't seen in Illinois. Okay, now the bill didn't pass, and that was a big win by homeschool families last year. Absolutely. The bill was stopped because homeschoolers got really loud and made their concerns heard, and thousands of homeschool families answered the call. They went to the Capitol, they submitted their witness slips, they signed petitions, they called and sent emails into the Capitol to the legislature. But that does not mean this is behind us, and that does not mean that we have set them all straight in Springfield. Right now, Governor Pritzker is advancing really hard left policies across the state, a lot more government control, kind of chipping away at other rights, more regulation, just generally less patience for people who want to operate outside state control, and especially in education. But as Pritzker and his allies, in Springfield, they just keep pushing everything further to the left. It's important to understand something. They can always do more, and they can always file worse bills. HB 2827 last year was far from the worst legislation homeschool families in Illinois could face. And I'm going to say something without really finger pointing. I don't want anyone to feel like this video isn't for them if they homeschooled Illinois, because it is. But just to be clear, you don't have to consider yourself a conservative to be at risk here and to see the risk here. The legislature tends to view homeschoolers as conservative, whether or not the average homeschool family or your specific homeschool family is. It's just statistically true that homeschool families do lean more conservative than the general population, and politicians know that, and that affects how homeschooling is viewed and treated in the legislature, regardless of how your family votes. So Illinois kind of tested the waters last year with 2827. That didn't come out of nowhere. I guess there's another part of this we have to be honest about as well, is that as they move the whole agenda of the state as far left as they can, as fast as they can, they view homeschooling as something that needs to be addressed in that collection of conservative ideas, right? And we see this right now happening in Virginia. They gavelled in just a couple of weeks ago, and already they have done decades worth of legislation, moved the center post in the state of Virginia miles to the left in just a few weeks. They just came out the gate swinging. That's happening in Springfield. And they view homeschooling as one of those conservative topics, whether or not you agree on any other conservative topic and whether or not you're conservative in Illinois. The point is, the legislators in Springfield think that homeschoolers are a conservative topic and need to be regulated, period, full stop. So that's point one. There's another reality that we have to be honest about, and is that politicians know how the game works, obviously, better than, they're playing the game. It's their deal. They know that families are busy, and they know that most of us don't want to spend our lives driving to the Capitol and sitting through committee hearings and rearranging our, if it's, your homeschool day. Honestly, you probably did it in the car. But, another factor is homeschool families don't have, many families are driving from long distances. They get a hotel, they're eating a Chick-fil-A. This is costing a couple $100 per family to attend the Capitol. Not to mention if somebody has to take off work to be there, things like that. It gets very expensive and time consuming and exhausting to go to the Capitol. And they know that turnout drops over time. They know that people get tired. They know that some families are eventually going to say, we've done our part for the year. We've done what we can do. Some families are going to start to wonder whether showing up even makes a difference. I mean, the math isn't really in our favor. Is it really worth spending? I mean, wouldn't we rather take a few $100s and get out of Illinois for a vacation this summer and go, South Dakota or somewhere to a freedom state and spend some $300 there versus, maybe throwing money down a well here? That's not a flaw of homeschoolers or homeschool politics at all. That's just real life. And you see We see that all the time in every facet. Again, doesn't matter your party or your state or anything. When they want to raise your local taxes, or they want to pass a school bond, or they want to do anything like that locally, they just have to keep coming back. They know that. They'll wear people down. People don't have unlimited time and resources to fight legislation. So, oh, we didn't pass it this year. We'll try again next year. We'll try again next year. And that's in a situation usually where we're in the majority and they just have to wear enough of us down that we stop objecting. Well, in this situation, we're not in the majority. And so in the legislature, and they know that. So I would say a couple of things. First of all, Pritzker's taking the whole state as far left as fast as he can, and he considers homeschooling part of that. Secondly, they know they just need to wear us out. Eventually, they're going to get, their homeschool families are not going to be able to throw themselves on the rocks of this level of effort like we did last summer for 10 years straight. Okay, that's not going to happen. The other thing is, the third point, they have seen what happened last year and they learned from it, I promise you. And they learned from what happened in Virginia in 2020 and what Virginia did this year. They see if you're going to pass a bunch of bad legislation, you cannot be giving the opposition time to fight it, okay? If they're going to pass stuff, they're going to pass it very, very quickly. They're not going to pre-file a bad homeschool bill and let it sit in the pre-file drawer, for weeks before session opens. And they're not going to, put it on the calendar 2 weeks out, right? They're going to do this stuff very, very quickly. That was Virginia's, I say fatal flaw, but you could say saving grace. That was their saving grace in 2020 when they flipped in 19, was they put things on the calendar and they just didn't get all their priority agenda items done because of the time factor. Legislative session is only so long. And they have learned, Virginia obviously learned that lesson. The very next time they got control of the legislature in Virginia, boom, they did more in 2 weeks than that whole session combined, times 3 or 4. I mean, it's wild. They're going to do that here. They're learning, as very quickly, to speed up the whole process by which they do legislation. And so I hope all of those points, I don't have a bill to tell you about today, but I have an action item for you. This is exactly why early engagement and maybe possibly adding some tactics are so important in this fight. The best time to get involved is before we're exhausted and discouraged and we've spent half of last summer up there and praying about it and stressing about it and emailing our friends, and it just, I know that feeling of just like, I wouldn't say impending doom, but I would say I have sat in many committee hearing rooms and many state capitals and known the votes were not in our favor and knew what was coming. And you're just like, please, Lord, make this go a different way. And, it doesn't always. And so I know how mentally and emotionally and spiritually exhausting that can be. So we need to get involved and we need to get active and connected and engaged and build awareness right now. We don't want to be scrambling later when the pressure is higher and our options are fewer, and they're just going to go faster. I'm certain of it, and we're seeing it all over the country. This is what the Homeschool Freedom Coalition exists to do. We want to help families stay ahead of the cycles and stay ahead of, oh no, they surprised us and they filed this thing at 2 a.m. and it's already moving. We want to move early and we want to move together and with clarity. So right now what you can do is hit the link below, sign the petition telling the legislators in Springfield to leave homeschooling alone. This also signs you up for updates immediately. If any anti-homeschooling legislation gets filed in Illinois, we will sound the alarm right away and we will have action items for you at that time. You'll be able to email directly to your legislator with pre-written emails in just a matter of moments. So it's really critical to the organizing phase that we all be on the same page and ready. And I know we all agree that protecting homeschool freedom is easier before we're forced into crisis mode by a nasty bill. And we haven't yet begun to see how bad some of these bills can get. So right now, take 30 seconds, sign the petition, get involved in this fight with us for homeschooling in Illinois. Thanks for your time today. I know this is a long video. Hopefully you're making dinner or, one of the kids is studying for their spelling test or something while you watch this. But it's very important to stay informed so we can stay free and stay the course.